Hey everybody, welcome back to Tired Old Queen at the Movies. It's getting cold outside, so we should probably warm up with our good friend Steve Hayes. Don't forget to like and subscribe, check out the movie merch below, and now let's go see the Tired Old Queen at the Movie, Steve Hayes.
Johnny, I'm so glad to see you. Would you like to? Come on. Oh, Johnny, happy Thanksgiving. We hadn't done a comedy in a long time, and we hadn't done a Charles Laughton movie in a long time. So I chose one of my favorite comedies of the golden age of movies, The Ruggles of Red Gap, directed by Leo McCarey and starring Charles Laughton, Mary Boland, Charlie Ruggles, Roland Young, Zasu Pitts, and Maude Eburn. Now, this is such a great comedy. It's at the turn of the century, and it's in England, and Roland Young is this lord, and he has lost his butler, Ruggles, played by Charles Laughton, in a poker game, to an American couple named Egbert and Effie Floud, played by the incredible Charlie Ruggles and Mary Boland. And they have decided that before they go back to Red Gap, which is outside of Washington, a small town in Washington, they're going to take Ruggles with them and add some class to Red Gap.
Joy to be.
What's that?
Tone. To have him there.
So poor Ruggles, he's just forced to go to America into the Old West with this couple.
To Red Gap. That's from the state of Washington, you know.
And because Egbert, Charlie Ruggles, keeps calling him Colonel, all the people in town thinks he's a genuine colonel, and he becomes a celebrity.
Oh, boys, I want you to meet Colonel Ruggles, a special friend of mine. Any friend of Egbert's is a friend of ours.
And gradually, he just warms the heart of all these cowboys. And he meets this widower played by Zasu Pitts, and they exchange culinary tips, and they fall in love with each other, and he regains his freedom, and he opens a restaurant. That's basically what the whole story is. The thing about this movie is that it's consummate comedic actors at the height of their game.
Tell you, when she gets riled up, well, she'd fight a rattlesnake and give it the first 2 bites.
Now, this was the first comedy that Charles Laughton had done in America, and he demanded that they hire Leo McCarey to direct. Leo McCarey was known as one of the great comedy directors. He had discovered and directed Laurel and Hardy. He had directed the Marx Brothers and Duck Soup, and he went on to win 3 Academy Awards, 2 of which he won for Going My Way, and 1 for directing The Awful Truth with Cary Grant and Irene Dunne, which we did here on Tired Old Queen at the Movies. He was a superb comedy director. So Charles Laughton's comedy performance, because he's got such big personality actors around him as Mary Boland, Charlie Ruggles, he just underplays everything. It's all about his facial reaction.
Yes, I forgot to tell you, you're going out to America. America, beloved.
The reactions are just great. Yes, Ruggles, it seems that I lost you last night in a poker game.
So they won you. Won me, my lord. Yes.
Now, meanwhile, they cut over to Mary Boland and Charlie Ruggles.
Effie, you ain't aiming on taking Ruggles to Red Gap.
I certainly am.
They were paired like in 9 movies together. Their comedy styles just match. And Charlie Ruggles is always befuddled. Now, Effie, I don't really. Well, why would you? And when?
Egbert, get your clothes on.
Yeah. Now, looky here, Effie. I can be pushed just so far, no further.
Egbert, get your clothes on.
Why?
Egbert, I want you to go and get Ruggles. And we're going to take him back to Red Gap.
I am ready, sir. Hmm? Oh, yes, sure.
So he goes and he gets him, and right away he calls him Bill. Well, Bill, he says, what's your real name? Charles Laughton goes, Marmaduke. Marmaduke. I'll call you Bill. I'll call you Bill. So they go out and they get drunk at this cafe in Paris. They get drunk, and poor Ruggles has never been drunk, and he just gets smashed. And by the end of the lunch, they had run into a cowboy friend of theirs who was a millionaire visiting Paris.
Come on, Colonel. Wrap your paw around that air glass.
Charles Laughton just sat there, and he's drank all this beer, and finally he goes,
Yahoo!
he has to deal with Mary Boland.
I can't imagine what could have detained him.
And they've come home drunk.
Girls, just up from Red Gap.
And she was having a dinner party. So she calls him, she says, I can't tell you, Ruggles, that I'm not really disappointed. Now, Ruggles, I'm taking you to Red Gap. Red Gap, madam? Yes, because I think Red Gap needs a tone. Tone. Yes, madam. So they go off to Red Gap.
More!
Well, you darn do.
More pit and gill, you wild maverick.
Somehow they always end up in a bar. They're always like throwing liquor down Charles Laughton. He's just trying not to get beat up, you know.
Yeah, that's what I've been... Now you're talking.
And they're sitting in this bar, and somebody says, well, it's like, you know, Lincoln said in the Gettysburg Address. What did he say at the Gettysburg Address? And they start going down do you know what he said at the Gettysburg Address? The other guy goes, I don't know what they said at the Gettysburg Address. What do you think he said?
Hey, what did Lincoln say at Gettysburg? I don't know. I wasn't there.
And then they get around to the table. Under his breath, you hear Charles Laughton going, 7 years ago, our country brought forth unto this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal.
And that government of the people, by the people, and for the people.
And they all just stop, and the whole place goes quiet. And Charles Laughton just does the Gettysburg Address.
Shall not perish from the earth.
It's incredible. It's an incredible thing. He always said after this that Ruggles of Red Gap was his absolute favorite movie that he ever made. And everywhere that Charles Laughton would go, they would ask him to recite the Gettysburg Address because at this moment, it's just such a classic moment. Meanwhile, back to the comedy end of things, he's run into Zasu Pitts. Now, I don't know if Zasu Pitts was this wonderful birdie actress. She came out of silent movies. She's in Greed, Eric von Stroheim's Greed. He bites her hand, ooh. But she was always, oh gosh, she's always so whiny, you know, I just don't.
I'd hate to tell you what I'd call it.
He tastes her meat sauce. He goes, Madam, your meat sauce is superb. Well, thank you. They've always said so, you know. It needs just a little something. They've always...
The ingredients are quite simple, too. Have you a little flour?
Oh, would you, Colonel?
Rather.
He adds something, and she loves him, and they open a restaurant together. And the only cog in the ointment is Mary Boland's brother-in-law wants to inherit their fortune that they got from oil. He doesn't want Ruggles around. He wants to get rid of Ruggles, and he does everything to sabotage it. And he contacts Roland Young, and Roland Young comes over from England with the intention of taking Ruggles back. And by this time, Ruggles has opened up his own cafe, and he's doing all the food, and he's just having the time of his life, and he's going to be married. And Roland Young says, I'm taking you back, Ruggles. And then Zasu Pitts says,
First I find you're not a colonel, and now I find you're not a man. Maybe you'd better find out what you are.
She leaves, and he just says, I'm staying. I'm going to stay. And it's just such a good-hearted movie, and you laugh out loud. These are comedic geniuses at work.
I think he looks very distingué.
Gay nothing. I look like that bantam rooster I had before it was run over.
Charlie Ruggles and Mary Boland both came out of Broadway. Mary Boland was a big big star on Broadway. She did The Cradle Snatchers about these two women who have affairs with younger men, who was Humphrey Bogart in one of his early Broadway debuts. And she did it with Edna May Oliver. Edna May Oliver and Mary Boland, who later starred together in Pride and Prejudice, which we did here on Tired Old Queen at the Movies, you know. And of course, Mary Boland, unforgettable in The Women as the Countess, you know. I got to play that part once, and I just, oh God, I just loved her. You know, the way she'd say, "Oh, can we keep the secret between the eight of us? Buck Winston is nice. Did you see the ripple of his muscles? Musical. There's something about her that is so appealing, and her hair always chills, you know. And Zasu Pitts and Roland Young, so droll. And then on top of all this, there's Charles Laughton, the great genius.
Yes, home, America, Red Gap.
Oh, yes, madam. Red Gap.
He was fabulous. I just think that for Thanksgiving, you're going to roar with laughter, sit back, feel warm and wonderful with Charles Laughton, Mary Boland, Charlie Ruggles, Roland Young, and Zasu Pitts in Leo McCarey's Ruggles of Red Gap. Happy Thanksgiving from all of us at Tired Old Queen at the Movies.
Let's all go to the lobby.
That's the problem. You've got Charles Laughton and Charlie Ruggles, and it's Ruggles of Red Gap. This is a problem. You know, good rich, good year, both tires. It doesn't, all right.
The popcorn can't be beat.